Good morning, coders. How's everyone going? Everyone doing all right? Good morning. It's 7:05 GMT in the morning. I have just taken Murphy out for a walk. He is currently by my feet, having a snooze. I hope everybody's well. I hope everybody enjoyed their weekend, and I hope everybody enjoyed the review that I did for February, the Code Challenges review. That will be going out to the YouTube live stream channel later on this week. I'll let everybody know in the Discord channel, in the Discord server. Today we're going to be adding some, doing some more Jenkins magic. So building out the How to Code Well website, or the microservices, I should say. And we are creating pipelines in Jenkins to test and automate all the boring stuff. Before I go into this in any sort of codey depth, so there was a problem I should mention. I had this running before. I showed you before on the last stream that I had many things running already, and they were mostly failing. And one of the reasons why they were failing was because of the permissions of the volumes that I was mounting to Docker. And the problem there was that Jenkins itself was in a Docker container trying to spin up other Jenkins jobs. Other Docker containers. And it just got a little bit confusing. Better people than me will know how to solve those problems. So what I've done is I've basically scrapped it, and I've installed Jenkins again from scratch using Homebrew on the Mac Mini. It is sat behind me there. There's the Mac Mini. Don't know if you can see it there. So what I've done is I'm just sharing this. I'm just sort of doing a screen share to the Mac Mini here. So this is Jenkins, and it's running, so far, it's running the user API and the gateway. And beforehand, I was using a Jenkins file, using scripted notation to create different parts of Jenkins pipeline jobs. And I was using the scripted stuff for spinning up Docker images and containers and stuff like that. And that was a little bit much. That was a bit sort of... Again, better people than me will be able to solve those kind of issues I was facing. So what I ended up doing, which in hindsight I think is probably the best way about it, is I am just using, if I go to the user API, which by the way will be renamed to auth soon, once I get around to doing it. If I pull down the develop branch, so if I did, because this is all spinning off from the develop branch, so git repository pull, put it all down, there'll be quite a bit of change, I would imagine. Yeah, 15 commits, 8 files. So in the Jenkins file, what we're doing is we are just using Docker Compose, and I've created a separate Docker Compose file for test. So this one here will be dev, this one will be test, and eventually, hopefully, there'll be one called prod, I suppose. And we're just firing Docker Compose at the box, and the box is built is in Homebrew, so it's literally installed on the bare metal on the Mac Mini there. So Jenkins is not inside a Docker container anymore. It is just like spinning up a normal machine. However, Jenkins has on its path Docker and Docker Compose, and therefore it can actually just act as though I've just built the environment without having to worry about Jenkins is in Docker and it's trying to spin up Docker containers, and yeah, that was getting quite confusing. So in terms of these steps, we've got a build step here. This is doing a copy of the environment variables from test to .env, because .env is ignored. Then we're setting up the JWT, the key here. So we've got the private and the public keys being built using a very easy password, which is just test at this stage. Excuse me. And then we're doing a build, and then we're making the vendor. So there is a make file. So making vendor will do a composer install. And then the next one is static analysis. So this is running it's making sure the containers are up, and then it's going to do a make static analysis. So this is running PHP stan against this, and it's going to be running it from if I can find it, the PHP stan configuration. So we are running level 0 just at the moment. We will be increasing that eventually, and it's excluding all the migrations from there. And then we have the unit test. So this is where it's making sure that the containers are up again, and then it's doing the make test unit. So make test unit is just going to run all the unit tests. Once that's done, we then go on a little bit further and we do the test API. Now this is a this is a little bit crazy, this one, because the make API call requires, and this is where I was getting hung up last time, it requires the database because we're literally running against the database when we're making the API calls and we're testing the responses. So this is more of shall I say an acceptance test, something like that. It's certainly not unit tests. It's literally doing API calls and making sure the responses are correct. Also handling logins and logouts and stuff like that. So we're spinning them up again, and I had an issue with Composer, so I had to run Composer install again. So frustrating. And then we're doing the test API. Test API runs the make file, and then here we do run API. Now the API, as I think I've shown before, it's actually configured to, in here, it's actually configured to drop and populate the database on each test. So we've got a dump.sql file, which has just general sort of very low, sort of very, it's very slim, shall we say, the dump of the database. If I can find it, dump.sql. So it's just building the tables. And then I think there's 2 users in there so far, which is the my administrator user and just a normal user. I don't even know where they are now. Here we go, insert into user. So yeah, we've got 1 user here, and I think we've got another user there, which means that I can now test the roles. So I can make sure that certain API calls, if they're requested by a user who doesn't have permissions to access that API, then the correct response is given. It's quite involved dealing with security and microservices at this stage. This is only one service, of course. Okay, so once that is done, hoorah, all of these get passed, hopefully, and then the build succeeds. So if I showed you the actual thing, if we go to user API, so we can see all of the attempts I was doing last night, 9 hours ago, and then this one here is the actual build. So this is the whole pipeline as it stands. Hey Natsak, thank you for joining. Hope you're well. Hope you have had a good weekend. Okay, so what I want to do today is I want to start incorporating the other microservices into this Jenkins, and let me talk about the way I want to approach this, because it is quite complicated. So first of all, we've got I think we've got like 5 services so far, so I want them in their own pipelines first of all, and then once I've achieved that, what I would like to do is then build a staging site. Once all the containers are running and up and tested, I want to create a staging site. Now, whether that's going to be on the Mac Mini here, you know, like an internal site, or whether it's going to be on the net somewhere, which is behind some form of IP restriction or something like that, I don't know. But I want to eventually get to a point where I have an environment that looks just like production, obviously with a lot of testing tools available to me, because what I would like to do is then try and break it as much as possible. So what happens if one of the containers drops? What happens if, I don't know, someone tries to log in and the auth server isn't there? Or what happens if I try and build the site and the courses, the e-learning service isn't available? Those kind of things. I also want to do a bit of load testing on the staging site too. So there's a lot to do before we get to that point, but you know, I'm hoping that this will be one of the first stepping stones to this. And the user API is probably one of the most difficult ones, because of all the API tests, because of all the checking of the roles, the user roles. The other APIs, they're mostly, well, the resources API is probably the easiest one, because that's more read-only. The courses API, the courses service, which I'm going to call e-learning service, it does require the user, well, what I'm now calling the auth service, because it does do authentication based on the user who is running the e-learning bits and pieces. So that is a little bit tricky too. So what we'll do today is we'll just go through some of the APIs and we'll get them running off of that that Jenkins. So I think I've got probably, yeah, we'll start with the course API. Now this is very interesting, because as I was doing this, I was discovering all sorts of issues which I assumed were not going to be there. So for example, all sorts of things to do with permissions. I discovered that the console file, the Symfony console file, doesn't get rebuilt once you remove it. So if you remove it and then do compose or install, it doesn't always come back. So that was tripping me up quite a bit. So I do recommend doing these kind of things before launch. Going straight to production is not a good idea, because this gives you the opportunity to discover these kind of niggles and these kind of hang-ups and these headaches. Okay, so the course API, I haven't touched in a while. We do have a make file here, and we got all the bits and pieces, I think, running. So vendor, composer, that kind of thing. We've got a Jenkins file, which is a little bit different, because this was trying to use the scripted Jenkins. I think it's Groovy. They call it the Groovy script. Yeah, so what I'm thinking of doing is just changing this up to use the Docker Compose. Now, one thing I should actually mention with this is that the first thing that happens is it does a Docker build. So this is back into the user microservice here. It does a Docker build. That's the tag of the build. And then this here, this is fantastic. This is the environment variable of Jenkins to get the build ID, which means that I can tag the image of the microservice of the user API against the build ID. And then in the Docker compose.test, I can then use that as the image, which is wonderful, which is what I would like to try and do. So let's move. Oh, hang on a minute. Bear with me. Sorry, Murphy was. Where did you pull that from? Murphy pulled something out of the bathroom. It was one of these pots for hand cream. You don't want to be eating that, mate. No. It's all right. Nothing came out of it. It was just chewing the actual pot. No, I'm going to put that there, mate. You don't need that. You don't need that. You've just gone from a nice walk. Where did you get that from? Where'd you get that from? Okay. Just looking at me blankly like, you've taken that away from me. Okay. We're going to puppy class tomorrow night. Tomorrow night is his first ever puppy class. Which, to be honest, the more I think about it, I think it's schooling for the owners of the dogs rather than the dogs themselves. Okay, so what I need to do is I need to go into the course API, because that's what we're going to set up, and I need to adjust this to look a little bit more like the other one. And the beauty with doing this, of course, is that I can SSH over to the Mac Mini, and I can run this whole script without actually having to do the build, because it's Docker Compose. So let's see. What I'm gonna do is just grab the Jenkins file and just change bits and pieces, because it's very similar. With tests of the course API, we have unit tests. We don't yet have any functional, and we do have some API tests as well. So, okay, we need to copy over test to there. We don't have to deal with the SSL stuff. That's fine. No problems there. We're going to change this to be course API, and then, I mean, I shouldn't really call it API. It's more like just e-learning service, to be honest, because it's more than just an API. Anyway, so that's going to do the build. This is then going to do the make of the vendor. That's fine. So I'm just going to change that to be course, and I'm changing that to be course, that to be course, and these two. Right, so static analysis. Do I have PHP stan installed on here? If I don't, I'm going to shoot myself. Yeah, yes, I do. Good. Phew. Okay, so course API, make static analysis. Cool, so that's good. Test units, that should then run test unit. I'll check all these in the make file in just a second. And then down here we have the test API. So this is doing the up, and then I don't know if I need to do that, but it's not doing an update, so that's fine. Course API and then test API. So do we have all these in the make files? So we've got, we don't need that. Static analysis, vendor, test unit, test API, and test and vendor. Yes, that's all good things. Wonderful news. So that's good. And then we obviously need to have the other Docker Compose file, don't we? Murphy's gone back to sleep. He was a proper good guard dog last night. About, say, half midnight, something like that, he just jumped off of the bed, and he went to the end of by the stairs, at the top of the stairs, and he was howling. So we both jumped out of bed, and then we were like, checking the house, making sure there was nobody around. We couldn't see anybody, but what we did hear after we settled Murphy down and went back to bed, was we heard that one of the neighbours' dogs started to go off. So we're not sure whether someone was lurking around or whether it was just one of the neighbours putting the bins out. All right, so it's going to need to be very similar to this one, actually. And I probably should go about refactoring my Docker Compose files, and I will do that at a later stage, I think. But the difference between that one and this one is really going to be the image. So we're going to just grab that from here. I can't remember how I've done that. So it's this one, isn't it? That's what I need. So we got the course API, and then here we do the build of the current context, and we're running off of here. And this is course, I believe. Course. Is it course? Let me see. When this gets built, it's course API. There we go. Okay. I think for now that's good. Okay, let's make sure that when we copy over the EMV files, everything is correct. Okay, so that does require... So this is going to be a bit tricky one, actually, because this does require RabbitMQ. But we'll get to that at some point, I think. Let me just make sure that these are in. Oh, hang on. Did I not commit those from here? Yeah, I did. So if this is empty, it's going to fail miserably. So let's just grab that and put it in here. Okay, cool. All right. What else can I predict is going to fail? Okay, this console thing is going to fail, I think. However, it isn't ignored. Let me have a look at the git ignore here. Git ignore. So we are ignoring everything out of bin. Where is the console? Has that already been added? It looks like it has been added, although this is ignoring it. Okay. We don't need that anymore, but we'll leave it in for now. I would rather not tinker with things too heavily. Okay, I think that's good enough. Alright, so I'm going to do a git commit. And we'll just do work for Jenkins. Okay, let's go over to Jenkins now and configure it. Excuse me. Which tab is that in? This is this one, isn't it? So we go to the user API, we go to administration, and we go to my views, and you can see that there's only the two here. I might be able to get away with doing new item, and then I might be able to do... So we're going to call this course API. I might be able to do this. Copy from user API. Ooh, then hit OK. So it knows that it's a multi-stage doobie thingy-majiggy. We'll change this path to be course API. And we're going to include everything excluding the features branches. It's using the Jenkins jobby. We've got it running periodically. I think if we hit save, ooh. Something's happening, isn't it? So we're going to hit Open Blue Ocean. It's indexing the branch. Okay, here we go. Docker build. Why is it building user API? That's not good. No. Why are you doing this? No. Because you're going to get confused. Why is that? It should be. Oh dear. No. Why are you doing that? Have I got something in here called user API that I'm building by mistake? Oh dear. Hey Natsak, thank you very much for subscribing on Twitch Prime. Thank you very much. Yay! Double thumbs up, man. Woohoo! Murphy says hello too. Cheers. Why am I building the wrong thing? This is not this isn't good, is it? That shouldn't say user API. Why are we building the user API? Oh, I'm confused. I am super confused unless I've screwed up the configuration of this. Let's go to dear oh dear. View configuration, is that? No, because that's the actual pipeline thing, it's configure here. Am I running it off? No, I am running it off of course API. Okay. All right. So it is coming from that repository. Right. Okay. So I mean, that failed. Why did it fail? Let's have a look. Let's go down to the console. Why is it getting it from the user API? Why? That's so bizarre. And this is all good. This is all good. Apart from this stuff, authentication requests could not be processed due to a system problem. But again, why on earth are we getting it from here? Setting origin. The origin's wrong. Unless what I did was I hit save and not apply or something like that, because I was copying it from the other one. I think what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to hit apply and then save, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this, I'm going to stop it. Come on, stop what you're doing. I'm going to delete the build. Yes. I'm going to delete this one as well. Yes. I'm going to go up. And I think what I'm going to do is I think I will run it again and make sure this time that everything is configured before I... So this is definitely course API. Apply, 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 apply. And then we're going to go over to the code, the terminal here, and then we'll come out of this. We'll have a look at ls, and we should see that we have the course API. This is Jenkins. This is the workspace. If we did cd into course API ls, and if we did a cat of let's say docker compose, let's do we'll do the first one, docker compose.yaml. Does this have... Yes, user API. So it's taken the... I don't think I properly saved Jenkins before I hit go. Dear. All right. Foolish. See, things like this can happen. Let's come out of this. I'm going to just restart the whole thing. I think that's probably the best thing to do. At this stage, I've screwed it up so much. We're going to hit that, and then we will delete this multi-stage pipeline. It's gone. Let me just make sure that that's gone from here. If we did an ls, that's gone too. Wonderful. Right. Oh, wow. Right. Okay. So let's do it again. New item. And we'll do course API. We'll start it again. Course API. We will copy it from here. We will do user API. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that I press apply before I press save. So we're changing that to course. And then we're going to do course API. We're going to hit apply. Changes have been saved. Okay, good. That looks good. Apply, apply, apply. Now hit save. Right, off it goes. We're going to check that out and see where it's getting its stuff from. It is getting it from user API. What on earth is going on? No. Come on, you saw I hit apply several times and the thing was different, right? You saw that. It's not me. I'm not going mental. You saw that. Let's delete this again. And this time we're going to not copy the user API. We are just going to build a new one. Oh, jeez. Jeez Louise. So I'm going to do a configure of this one, and I'm just going to copy that. Wow. All right. Well, let me just make sure that my workspace is clean. Yeah. Okay, cool. New item. We'll start from scratch. Course. API. It is going to be a multi-stage pipeline, or multi-branch pipeline, I should say. We're going to hit OK. I'm not copying it from anything, so this should be nice and clean. So we're going to do course API, and I shouldn't have done that because I've gone and... Oh, Jenkins, come on. What are you doing? Yes, leave page. Come on, refresh. Is that... Yeah, okay. Are we back now to where it was? Good. Course API. Sorry, course API. Right. Okay, add source. Git. In it goes. We're going to grab Jenkins. Okay. So far, so good. All right. It is the course API. I think that's okay. Okay, discover branches. And we are going to add a filter. Filter by name. And we're going to include everything, but we're going to exclude features. Or feature. Feature asterisk means it's going to exclude the features and feature. Okay, so it's using the Jenkins file, discarding old builds, that's fine. I'm going to set it to run periodically every 2 minutes. Okay, right. Let's just say, course API. This, oh, hello. Why did that change to user API? That's interesting. Maybe that was the problem. Course API. That's weird. Why do I have 2 Jenkins users here? That's a bit weird. Oh, that changed to user. Unsure about this. Anyway, let's hit apply again. I'm going to hit apply. I haven't hit saved. I'm going to hit apply, and then I'm going to refresh the page. We're going to go back to course. Okay, the folder is empty, so this is me now manually scanning these folders. So I'm going to hit configure again, and we're going to go back in, and we're going to see that is course API. That is course API. All right, so I haven't scanned it yet. I haven't hit save. Okay, fingers crossed. Now, we're going to hit save. Okay, off it goes. Off it runs. We're going to have a look at this. Go into console. Please say course. Yes! Okay, well, it always helps when you build the right microservice. Wow. Okay, so we'll take a look in this in Blue Ocean, because I think I prefer Blue Ocean to the normal Jenkins output. If I'm honest, it just looks nicer. Okay, so we're doing the whole composer build thing, and we're on the build stage. One thing I would really like to see here is the other stages, even if they haven't been built yet. That would be nice, because then you get an idea for how many other stages are left. The way Jenkins works is that it will only show the stage when it gets to the stage. If you know what I mean. If it knows that there has been a build before with different stages, then it'll have those stages here. But on the first initial build, it will only show you the stage in which it's on until it's finished, and then it'll go on to the next stage. Okay, so how are we doing with this? So this is still downloading bits and pieces. 65%. And I'm going to just double check. That is definitely... Why is it inspecting the... Hang on. Hang on a minute. That's not right. Let me go to settings here. It's definitely Course API. Something isn't correct because it's inspecting the user API. Now, I didn't actually say to do this. This is something that Jenkins is doing itself for some reason. How are we going with this? Okay, so it's done the downloading. It's now doing the building of various package versions and constraints and stuff like that, which is good. I don't think I've got this on... Have I got this on... I'm looking for... I have got it on auto refresh. Okay. Okay, so we've got the Course API now, apparently. And it's done build, it's done static analysis, it's done document, and it's done test? Is that right? So if we go to make unit test... These are all the tests for the Course API, so it is running off of the Course API at least. 93 tests done. Documentation, what was that about? Okay, that's Swagger stuff. Static analysis has passed, I think. Yeah, no errors. Awesome. And obviously the build's passed as well. I'm still a bit unsure about why it's inspecting the user API when this has got nothing to do with the user API. Bit weird. Okay, so let me double check something in the code. Bear with me just a second whilst I have a look at this. So we're in Jenkins file and we're running the make unit test, and then there should have been a make... See, this isn't set up as... So it should be build static analysis, test units, and test API, where we have build static analysis document test. Something is a bit fishy. Have I not done a push? No. Oh, wow. Oh, hang my head in shame. So you know those files I changed? Well, I didn't actually put it to the build queue. Oh, my word. Jesus. So anyway, hopefully now, if we go back to the settings, I get annoyed when that opens up a new tab. It should just, because you end up with 5 million tabs of all this, which are all the same. What I want to do is just double check that it is building on intervals. Awesome. So hopefully soon that will pick up the next build. So go back to the build queue. Oh yeah, we can see here it's scanning the mod that it's now scanning the user API. Okay, because obviously we have the user API as well. I'm just wondering when this is going to spark off. So if we go over to configure, there should be 2 minutes. In 2 minutes time. Come on. Have a slurp of me tea. Yeah, I know. This isn't looking good for the rest of my day. In terms of like the other crazy complexities that I have to deal with. I'm working on some Vue.js and some other APIs that I didn't build. I'm fixing them. There we go. We can see the course API being running here. I'm fixing and improving them and upgrading them, which has been a bit of a challenge. You know, when you say something's going to be done in like a short piece of time, because it should be quite an easy thing to do, and it turns out that it's actually not. That's basically been my last 3 or 4 weeks. Anyway, well, to be honest, that's been my last how many years? So here we go. Let's build static analysis. So I'm not sure it's it's doing gotcha. So here properly now it's doing the Docker Compose stuff. Okay, good. I'm so pleased that we've now got to this point using Docker Compose. Before, because I hadn't pushed up the other code, it was just running off of the other stuff. And I'm surprised that worked, to be honest. Okay, that's good. So that should now go on to the next one, I think. Test units. So that's testing the units. That's all tested. Wonderful news. Now we're on to the test API. So we can see that there's some failures here. So the previous build, I should mention, wasn't testing the API. And this is what I want to do. You know, what I want to use Jenkins for. Okay, so something is horribly wrong going on here. And the best thing about this is I should be able to jump onto the terminal. Oh, actually, no. I might be able to have a look into here. I was wanting to see the... I was wanting to see the whatchamacallits, the logs. Okay, so internal server error. This is never good, is it? So, test. Expects 200 OK, but the actual internal server is 500. So it looks like it's doing a select query here. Or, no, the actual thing in the error, which is not good, is a SQL error. So we're base table or view not found. Okay. So I haven't built the database yet. I know why this is wrong. I know why this doesn't work. This doesn't work because the user API, the one that does work, has in the tests, in the configuration, which is in here, it's doing a dump, and I don't think it's doing that in the course API. I don't think I set that up. So we must do that. If we go to tests, and then it's in data, yes, it's totally empty. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go onto my local machine here. So we're going to bring up this. So this is not on. This isn't on. This is on my iMac. This isn't on the Mini. So we're going to just jump into the course API, and then we're going to do Docker Compose course like that, I think. And we're just going to do a ls of bin, because I think in there is a db update. So we're going to drop the tables, bring the tables back up. So I did say I didn't actually need this script, but it just proves that I do. So we're going to do bin db update, because what I want to do is get a clean copy of the database. And then we're going to dump that and then commit that as an SQL file. Now, you know, this is nowhere near production, so I'm happy to do this at this stage. Once it gets to production, there's going to be all sorts of things that clear all of this stuff out. So there'll be no dumps of SQL and all of that stuff when it gets to production. In fact, when we move to production, and we're talking now quite far off now, but when we do move to production, I'm going to strip out the containers and just not include any build tools. So there's going to be nothing in Composer Require. It's not going to have yeah, it's going to be nice and clean. It's going to be nice and clean, and we're using multi-stage builds in Docker to do that, or we will. But we're not there yet. So, okay, so this is dumping that out. So I'm going to exit this, and I'm going to do... There is a website that I use, that's a gist, that I use fairly frequently, because I'm always having to do this. Let me just try and find it. What I want to do is do a backup of the Docker volume and dump that out. Docker MySQL export import. There is a fantastic gist that someone's done. Is this it? Is this the one? No, that's not the one. And I use it for reference a lot of the time. Here we go. I'll bring that up. So, there we go. This is how you back it up, and this is how you restore it. Wonderful. Just brilliant. So, that's what we're going to do here. We're going to do a Docker exec. We're going to go into, first of all, we're going to go into the test directory, and it's _data, because this is where I want the data file to live. And we're going to do a Docker exec based on the container name. So I think the container name, if I did a docker ps-a, is... it's not that one. Let's bring it out a little bit so I can see it a little bit better. It would have these ports, 3306. This is the user API DB. It is the course, that one. So we copy that. Okay. Let's clear the room. So it's Docker exec and Docker exec container name, which is you, and then it is MySQL dump. I don't think I need the full path, so we can just do MySQL dump, passing in -u for the root, for the username root, and then you have to put in the password on the thingy. So we're going to do -p, and then we're going to supply the database name. Now I can't remember what that is, so I'm going to just see what that is in. It would be in my environment variables, and that would be course DB. There we go. No, how to code well. That's it. That's the host. How to code well. Okay, next thing is we're going to stream that to backup.sql. I'm going to stream that to dump.sql. Dump.sql, and then I'm going to press enter. That should ask me, oh no, I need to put in the actual password. That's annoying. So that's -- password is equal to, and then test. Run that. There we go. Let's hit ls, and we now have the dump.sql. If I cat that out, there we go. That is the dump of the SQL file. Good, 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 good. That looks good to me. Okay. Let's clear the room, and then let's get rid of that for a minute. We need to configure Codeception to deal with this. So if we go to the API suite, so where we've got populate false, we need to change that to mimic the stuff in the user API. So I'm going to open that up. This is what we need. Whoops, it's this stuff. So we're going to change that to be course DB. Database name is how to code well. Root test. This is the dump. This is the populator. We're going to hit save. And I think what I could do is I could test this locally first before I even consider putting it up to Jenkins, otherwise I'll be chasing my tail. So we're going to go back into here and we're going to do Docker. Well, actually, what I could do is I could even run on Jenkins. Jenkins, get the actual thing, the actual command. Now, if I think about how Jenkins is set up, initially it's not going to have any data in the database. So let me just open that up a minute. We do have the table, the database name, but we don't have the tables. So what I'm going to do, in fact, is I'm going to drop all the tables, I think. Docker compose exec. We're going to go into the DB as MySQL, and we're going to use how to code well. We're going to do show tables. Okay, so what I'm going to do is going to be a little bit drastic, but I'm going to do drop database how to code well. Bye bye. Okay, so now I'm going to do create database how to code well. Awesome. Okay, I'm going to come out of that, and now I'm going to run the Jenkins command as Jenkins would run it. So we don't have we have a database, but we've got no tables. So this should run all of this based on that populator that we've just added. So I'm just going to copy that command. So this is the command that Jenkins should run, and we're going to run that. Now that should hopefully seed the database, and it doesn't because MySQL can't be found. Oh, I remember this problem. Yeah, so the Docker image for PHP doesn't have the MySQL binary. It has the ability to connect to MySQL databases, but it doesn't have the client. Hey, Tyrannid. No worries, man. We are watching me fail miserably with Jenkins and trying to set this up. I'm trying to set this up so I can build a staging environment for the new How to Code Well site, and I'm hitting all sorts of problems, which is good to hit at this stage in the game. So this problem here is that MySQL, the actual binary, isn't in the course container. So this means I'm going to have to take a look at the Docker file and I'm going to compare this Docker file with the user API Docker file, because I know that this one works. Docker file, here we go. So we have lib Maria client, MariaDB, and make. Okay. Let me copy that and then go over to course API, and we have libzim rabbitmq dev lib. Okay, and we're just going to add those in. Okay, so I'm going to need to do a Docker build. Docker compose -d build, and hopefully it will rebuild the course service. And it will hopefully include the here we go, Maria and a client and make. I don't think it needs anything else. Now, as you've probably witnessed, both of these Docker images are looking very similar. So not now, but a stage later on is what I wouldn't mind doing is building this, is having potentially having a way of having my own Docker images built, like my own base images, and that are shared across the microservices, potentially. Oh no, Turnid, my schedule is totally messed up because of the virus thing. Are you meaning the big C? I hope you're not talking about the big C. I hope you're okay. Big C, by the way, is the chrono. Yeah, the big C. The coronavirus. Corona thing. Yeah. I can't say it. It's like Voldemort from Harry Potter, the thing that okay. Your lady is a medic, so she's super busy. Hats off, mate. Well done. That's yeah, the medics, carers, everybody in the health service. Hats off to everybody right now. They are tackling a really difficult thing, and all the support. Understood. Well, if there's anything, yeah, it's I totally understand. I'm supposed to be going off to London in the next week for a client. Yeah. Even though, I mean, putting everything in perspective, there's two cases in Gloucester, where I live, Gloucestershire, I should say. Gloucestershire has 630,000 people. So, I think I'll just stay indoors. But I hope everything is all right. Okay, so that's built. That's cool, which means that I should be able to build the other one. Whoops, sorry. Why did that go up? Sorry. Right. Enough of that fiddling. Let's see now. I want to do, going up on the terminal here. No, I've already done that. I want to do... Where's that one where I was doing the... Oh yeah, test of the API. So hopefully now... it will test the API. And it is. And we've got green ticks. He who must not be named. Yes. Yep. The big C. Awesome. This is good. So once this is done, so what's happening here is, because it's taking a bit of time, is it's going through and it's dumping, it's dropping the database and populating it again with that dump that we've just created, which is great. So once this is done, there's 9 tests to go. I'm going to commit this, push this up, which is done now, and then it's going to go up to Jenkins, and Jenkins is going to see if we can do that. So let's see now. So, adding MySQL and make to Docker file, adding MySQL config to API tests, and yeah, I think that was it. Oh, no, there was another thing, wasn't there? If we just hit commit, there was another thing. We did the dump, which is ignored. So, excuse me a minute. Sorry, Murphy was Murphy had his paw caught. I had to sort that out. So we want to undump that. We unignore that. So if we go to the ignore files here, there should be a ignore of tests data. So we'll remove that. Unversioned file. There we go. Adding SQL dump. Now this does mean that when I change the entities, I change the database structure, I'm going to have to redump this. So I could probably do with a command that does the whole dumping. You know, the thing that I just showed you, the container command of exporting the database, I could do with putting that in, say, a make file. So before it goes up to Jenkins, perhaps have that just sort of build a fresh version of the database. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. So that's up. Have I pushed it up? Git remote push. Off it goes. Off it goes to the land of Jenkins, which I've logged out of. There we go. Is that I need a better screen. I need a better screen. One that doesn't have that glare. And it would be awesome if that was just the whole wall was just Jenkins. Wouldn't it? That would be incredible. Right. Enough of that. Enough of my dreaming. Let's go off to here. Okay, we've picked up one. So this is build number 3. Waiting to start. And fingers crossed, I have this running. And it all works. And then I can move on to the next one. After I think I get a T. Come on. Why are you waiting for it to run? Why can't you just run it? Oh, it is going. Adding, yes, so these are the changes that I put through. So, okay, let's open Blue Ocean. It's still saying it's waiting to run. It's queued. And it's been going for a minute. This isn't filling me full of confidence. Just get rid of these tabs. Why do I need to do that? Course API. It is still scanning through. Click on there. I'm going to have a look at the... it's still building. It's stuck. It's stuck. Let's have a look at the logs. Oh, it's because... Oh, I see. Because the Docker file itself has been changed, right? So that'll be why. So if we had a look at the console output, yes. So it had to recompile everything because I installed Maria and Make. That'll be why. Okay, fine. Okay, I'm just getting impatient now. So it's done the build, it's done static analysis, it's doing the test units. This is the crucial part, I suppose. If we go to Open Blue Ocean, open that up, and then go over to here, let's see what it's doing. So, no failures yet, which is great. And it's going through. I don't know if you can see... The screen isn't great, but we're getting green ticks, which is good. So we'll wait for this to run through. and then I'm going to get a cup of tea, and then when we come back, I'm going to work on the resource API, which is pretty much doing the similar thing, to be honest, I think. Okay, yep, that's gone through. I also want to let Murphy out for a minute. Good stuff. Good stuff. Good stuff. Pipelines. So we can see that these two pipelines are good. Sweet. Okay, I'm going to grab a cup of tea. I will be back very shortly. I'm going to let Murphy out for a little quick run as well whilst the kettle boils. And I will be back and we'll work through another microservice. Come on, buddy. Come on. Good boy.
One day someday you will stop. When you do, you will change the world.
Good boy. Well done. Well done. Good boy. Yeah. Yeah. Good boy. Sorry about that. Right. I have my tea. Yes, Murphy. I have my tea. Murphy's had a treat. Right. Settle down now, buddy. Okay, let's move on with the resource API. So, let's open that up. That would be where would that go? So many projects. Where is it? Resource API. There we go. Yes, new window, please. So this is one that probably needs a bit of tender loving care, to be honest, because it's going to be, it's quite old. Well, it is old. No, it's not old, but it hasn't had the same amount of work as the other ones. It uses a database, and it's so I've got a feeling I'm gonna have to sort out this. Yeah, it doesn't have Maria. Tests. It doesn't even have any tests. Oh man. Okay. Ah dear. Okay. That needs to be fixed, doesn't it? That needs to be solved. Do we at the very least, do we have PHP Stan? No, we don't. We go to Composer JSON. Do we have PHP Stan in here? We do. All right. Let me do a git repository pull off of this and just see if there's anything that I am not. No, they're all up to date. We do have the DB update, so there is that database. But because we don't have any tests, we can, at the very least, we can check PHP Stan, and then I can put some tests in eventually. So, and look, .env is committed. That's not good, is it? Okay, all right. First things first, then. Let's come out of this. So we're going to come out of this this thing here, and we're going to go into resource. That's live streams. CD into resource API, and then we'll do a Docker compose exec. Sorry. Sorry for taking so long. Murphy wasn't coming in. He wanted to. When I let him out, he went out with a ball in his mouth, and he just wanted to play. And it took me several treats to get him in. He knows how to play me. He knows how to play me. Oh, yeah. Eventually, we'll add the tests. Yeah. Um, okay, resource underscore API, bash, going as a bash. Okay, cool. So we're in that container. We're going to do a composer install because we don't seem to have the right binaries, the bins. Although it's saying everything is up to date. Murphy, would you stop chewing the microphone feet, please? Where did the music go? Where did that go? Let's refresh that page. Okay, so that's gone through. If I did an ls of bin, is there anything in here? No, that's very weird. All right, I think what I'm going to do is just create a new branch here, and we're going to call this develop, because this is eventually what will go up. And we're going to do a composer, composer update dry run. And we'll just see what needs to be updated before we update them. Where did the music go? My music has crashed. Good boy, Murphy. Right. There's a fair amount in here that needs to change. Some polyfills, some gherkins, make a bundle. UUID. Okay, I think, though, I'm happy with that at the minute, so we'll just hit that. There we go. Okay, so it's doing all the things. I'm quite excited, and I'm a little bit apprehensive about tomorrow's puppy class. We've never been to a puppy class before. We don't really know what to expect. We have certainly looked at YouTube videos of puppy classes, of course. But I just don't know. I don't know if he's going to get on with the other puppies. He's not very good with other pups, to be honest. The ones he knows well, he gets on with really, really well, but he gets very scared, very anxious. So hopefully this will do him some good. And there's like this streak in Murphy that I can see where he's turning into like a little teenager. Like before, when I just let him out for a wee, he just didn't want to come in. He was just like, no, I'm out. What are you going to give me for me to come in? And sometimes on his lead, he can get, when we've got the ball thrown, we're throwing the ball. When we want to finish the walk, he doesn't know when to stop. So getting him to come back, to get him back on the lead, can be a bit problematic. And oh, man, he pulls when he's on. Yes, I'm talking about you, Murphy. You pull on your lead. Yes. Anyway, so that's done. We're going to do an ls of bin. Do we have anything else in there? No, we don't have that. That's so weird. So this, to me, feels like there's something wrong with the way in which my composer is set up. If we scroll down here, we should have extra. We don't have bin. So I've got a feeling this is all going into ls of vendor. There should be in here a bin directory. Yes, there is. So if we did ls of bin, of vendor bin. Oh, come on. There we go. We can see them all there. That isn't going to work when we get it to Jenkins. Yeah. Yeah. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to stop. In some cases, we stop and take a step backwards, just to remind him that we are in charge. But you know, a 10-minute walk quickly turns into a 30-minute walk and you're still going that same distance. Okay, so I'm going to have a little compare between the user API, the composer JSON in here, because I think we've got some other bits. Yes, we do. Yeah, it's this bin directory here. So I'm going to copy that and go over to resource API. That goes into the extra bits here. I think that's all I need. I'm going to do a composer install and see if that has install composer. See if that has happened. So I'm hoping they're going to be in the root level bin directory now, all those bin. Yeah, and it's like whenever he sniffs something, whenever there's a new smell, he's off. He's like, whoa, look, new shiny, on his lead. I'm talking about. So he'll dart from left to right. And we try and we do take him out with treats. So we do try and get him to come back to the treat. But it's trying to get him less distracted and more on us. I think is the trick. So if I did an ls of bin, but I'll let everybody know how puppy class goes. We're doing it tomorrow night. Oh no, it didn't go in there. It's not a composer update thing, is it? It shouldn't be. I don't know whether it goes. Oh, because I've already installed those bits and pieces like PHP standard stuff, and I know that the bins are already in the vendor bin. I don't have to put it in the top level bin. I'm not sure. So we'll run this again and we'll just see. Plus he's a spaniel and they are nuts. So it's kind of our fault. No, it's not in there. That's so weird. Okay, let me compare again the user API. Maybe there's something I'm missing here. Aha. These extra files. I don't think that works. So I'm just going to put in these two, because that's there isn't an app directory. So I don't know why that's in there. Resource API, and we'll put that there. Okay, so this is the Symfony stuff, which I think it should be okay. It's not really the binary stuff though, is it? Anyway, so we've got scripts, config. Let me have a look at the config section up there. Maybe that's different. Yes, Binder. All right. Let me run a composer install again. Apologies for this. Okay, let's do an ls, of bin. Yay, we've got them all now, and we do have PHP Stan in the house. Sweet, okay, that's good. I would prefer if they were ignored. Bear with me just a second.
One day you'll figure this out. When you do, you will change the world.
Murphy was saying hello to the cats. So he said hello now, and I brought him in. All right, so let's compare the git ignore file of user API, which is this one, because down here we are doing bin, and then we are not ignoring bin. Okay, and I think, or not ignoring the console script there. So I think what I need to do in resource API is do a similar thing up here. So we're going to ignore bin, and we're going to not ignore no, I don't want a copyright strike on that one. Thank you very much. Murphy, what's he doing? I just want to double check that. So let's do composer. That's the course. I'm doing the user API. It is /bin. Okay. Which I don't have here. Okay, awesome. They're all blanked out, which is good. Okay. Okay, the next challenge then is to get the Jenkins file in. So we're gonna go over to user API again, and we're gonna grab the Jenkins file. I'm also gonna grab the make file too. And let's go over to the resource here. Let's paste that in. Good. In the Jenkins file, we're going to change user API to resource API. So I'm just going to do a replacement of that, resource API. There we go. We don't need this at all. We're going to copy over test to env. That's fine. And now, even though we don't have the tests for this, it should just well, we can't run that, unfortunately, because we don't have that test suite. But it should just go, oh, we don't have any unit tests, so we're just going to pass it. But at least it's sort of set up for us. Okay, so we do need to have a test env file. So we're going to do .env.test. The more I'm doing this, the more... oh, apparently we already have one. Sorry. The more I'm doing this, the more I'm thinking that what I do need to do is create sort of a template for these microservices. In fact, I should have done that right at the start, to be honest. A template. So then I can just fork that template, and there you go. I might do that actually this weekend. I might create myself a template microservice that has the common bits and pieces for every microservice, like the setup of these things. That way I'm not having to do all of this stuff each time. It's only because these kind of services have been built in a sort of a natural way. Sort of an organic way. So we're going to go over to Docker file here, where there is some bits and pieces I need. I need the Maria client and make. Go back over to the resource API. Going to put that into there. No, not there. Sorry, here. What else did I have there, just to see? We had... No, that was fine. Okay, good. Okay. The next thing I need to do is I need to grab you, and I need to put dot test on the end there. So dot test like that. There we go. In the Jenkins file, we are going to run the resource API for the build ID, and in here, if I go over to the user API dot test, we have the build number. That's what we're going to run it off of, build number. So we're going to grab that over to resource API, and no, sorry, it is in test. I'm going to grab the whole thing. There we go. Resource API, and it is just under the build. Pass that in. That is resource API as the image, and it's the tag. Okay, so what happens after this? We have the test set up. We've got the composer.json set up. We've got all of those things. Because we haven't got any tests, we don't have to worry about the dump file. So I'll worry about the dump file when we do have the tests. That's what I'm saying. I think what I can do right now is I can simulate one of the Jenkins file. This here, I can simulate these locally, and then hopefully. So I can't spell resource. Resource, there we go. Make sure that's correct in here too. Yep, okay, good. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to simulate each one of these things. Apart from that, because I already have tests, that's fine. So we're going to simulate this. So we're going to do... Actually, the .env file needs to be ignored. That needs to be ignored, I think. So we're going to grab that. Let's do dot... Where are we? Git ignore. Here we go. So there we go. Okay, so, and just grab all of that, delete that file. We're going to do a git commit, adding changes for Jenkins build. Grab that, paste that in. Good. Come on. And then we're going to create a new file called .env, which should be ignored. Is it ignored? Yes, it's ignored. It's yellow. Excellent. Okay. Good. So, one thing I might have to play with is the trusted hosts. I might. Right, let's just run through this as I mentioned. This should be resource API. Didn't spot that, did I? Resource API. There we go. Same with that one and that one. Okay. So we're going to run through all of this. So we're going to go over to the terminal, and we're going to come out of the container, and we're going to run it like so. Build. Oh. Unfortunately, we can't do it just like this because we need to remove that. But anyway. Because we haven't built it yet, we don't have the build number. With Jenkins, the first thing it does is it does a build, and then it attaches the ID of the build number to the Docker image tag. The idea of doing that, of course, is that when I do go to deploy this to production, I just want to... Well, one thing I could do to deploy this to production is just to literally deploy the Docker image and build the Docker image. I haven't quite decided how I want to configure it yet. So we're definitely going to use multi-stage builds. So this is dev stroke test, and then it's going to go through a series of different alterations to remove various bits and pieces, stuff that I don't need, stuff to make the image lighter and smaller. So, for instance, it's not going to have PHP Stan in production. It's not going to have Codeception and any of the tests in production. It's not going to have that SQL file, that dump SQL file in production. Because we what we want to do when we do push something to production, we want to reduce the attack surface and remove all of the build tools. We're not there yet, but that is what I would like to achieve. Okay, so we're going to then run this. And obviously remove this part. Vendor is up to date. Yep, I'm on it. Static analysis. We'll run through this, and I need to shoot off and do some work for the freelance world. So once this is running, I get all this done, I will need to dive off. So unfortunately, we won't be able to get this up onto Jenkins today, because I'll probably screw up the configuration as we've done before. But I need to, once we've run all of these commands, I do need to dive off. At least one path must be specified to analyze. This is because I'm missing the PHP, the neon jobby. Neon. There we are. Copy that. Put it into... where are we? Where are we? Resource API. We need to copy that into there. Yes. Okay, let's run that again. Using that configuration file. Hopefully it's going to go through all the things. I haven't done PHP Stan on this, so I'm hoping there's no errors. There is an error, so we will need to fix this before we push this up, which I will do. Okay, what's the next thing that this would run? After that, it would run this. So what I'm doing here is I'm just simulating the way in which Jenkins would run these commands. Obviously changing it slightly because I'm running it locally. Make so exec make test unit T, missing the T on the end there. No, this is a Docker issue, isn't it? Define run multi-container application. No. Oh, I need to remove the -f from there. Okay. So I will need to configure it. Okay, so there's a number of things that I need to do in order to, before I actually get this up onto Jenkins, and I'll be working through those things later on this evening. And then I'll be back streaming on Thursday. I'll let everybody know how the puppy classes go. See if Murphy has eaten us out of treats. But in the meantime, I wish you all well. Have a very good day. Happy coding, everybody. Stay healthy, and I will speak to you at 7 a.m. on Thursday morning, GMT. Happy coding. Cheers. Goodbye.